hello or konnichiwa or annyeong gaseo. I'm pretty sure I said that wrong. Bear with me since I'm not too good Korean. But today we're gonna be talking about epiphany, and the definition of epiphany is a sudden moment that gives you revelation or insight. When I say that, it can mean a lot of things. For most, it just means that you have this new revelation or new purpose that you really want to fulfill or prophesize. So today, I'm going to tell a little story that I found my true epiphany and slowly but surely started to navigate my path through life. So it all started last September when I wanted to do a trip to Japan and South Korea many weeks later, which I only planned this trip 6 weeks prior, and 6 weeks later I was in Japan. And I didn't think much of it as obviously I was in a bit of a rough point in my life where I'm not saying it was good or bad. It was just I was going through a few changes personally with friends, all that stuff, and I was a little stressed out with my own job that I kind of needed a break from everything. And by the time it was like the end of October, which is when I went to Japan, I kept asking myself, will I be missing on things back home, such as work projects, here and there, so to speak. And I thought, I had this looming thought of feeling guilty. And by the time I spent my 2 weeks in Asia, I think it was only the second day, or maybe third day, while in Japan, and when getting to Japan, this is probably the second time I've ever traveled out of the country by myself, with the first being Iceland. And there was another time where I've traveled before, but with like a group. But besides that, we'll save that for another day. And as I arrived and spent my first day or two in Japan, I didn't really think much of the change in my outlook on life. But as I think it got to my third or fourth day in Tokyo, I realized that this feeling of accomplishment from wanting to always go to Japan to playing everything on a whim, and the epiphany started slowly kick into me. And this feeling felt like a whole learning experience, as I'm not too knowledgeable in Japanese or Korean, and how to change a little small error in my travel plans. And I made prior. However, this actually made me think of the idea, as it was also close to my 30th birthday, that I was worried it would be a challenge, but now it's like after that short term period, like maybe 3 or 4 days being there, I realized, okay, can make this manageable as long as I plant the right seeds and actually pursue something that actually gives me more meaning, passion, and a new sense of life. And that was my overall epiphany that led me there. And before all this and how I'm facing the present is something I'm aware of, that there are things that I can and can't control. Like, for instance, it's raining outside, or it's windy. But while in Japan, Korea, I kept writing little notes for myself. While in Japan and South Korea, I kept writing little notes to myself, or ideas of what I can do differently in life when I return, and how I can make it better for myself. And what maybe I wanted to do is like long-term goals. And that's the outlook that changed me about everything back home was I realized back home that I'm bored, I'm miserable, I feel like I'm missing out on a lot and so on, and that I played this track in my head even once I returned every day now, that I want to be the star, even though I don't want to come off as being self-absorbed. And in my photography, while I was staying in Japan and South Korea for those 12 to 14 days, I was able to explore new ways of thinking, new ways of life, and the sense of making my work stand out as if it's one of my favorites. I was even able to get a few photos on my morning runs while staying in Tokyo, Osaka, and Seoul to add something that these photos reflect a lot of my personality, as I emphasize a lot on color. And just seeing multiple colors at night in Namba, for instance, which is an area district in Osaka, and the colors from all the lights just kind of gave me a sense of liveliness that when I see a light, I can follow them to make my worldview better. And that goes as well for Tokyo, and Tokyo as well. The ocean of buildings everywhere just reminds me that there's a world out there and I shouldn't just let it fade in the distance. Or Seoul, where I can get a better glimpse of the river walks that I go for my runs would relax me when I know there are uncertainties in the world, as the reason that being near water is known to reduce anxiety. And at the end of this trip, I really did feel like a new person. And that's why a lot of the photos I've taken from my trip to Japan and South Korea have been some of my favorite that I've ever taken so far. And after coming home from Japan and South Korea, I started taking little steps to see what I can do to better myself and reinvent my own purpose. Afterwards, if I have to thank anyone for reviving this epiphany in me, I can thank Japan and South Korea for the hospitality and the welcoming nature of everyone there, which definitely by far helped. And 10 out of 10 for anyone watching this, I definitely recommend you go visit Japan or South Korea. And it's a trip that I'll never forget, and I hope to come back again soon. In all, this epiphany made me realize that life's too short to be miserable. Japan and South Korea have made me realize what I truly want out of life. I still have good days and I still have bad days, but I know deep down, and promise you this, that someday I'll be better from what I want to do and accomplish. So if you've made it to the end of this video, I hope you liked it, and thank you again. I plan to make more photo essays and video essays along my photography. If you enjoyed, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and have a wonderful day. Peace.